Alright, today we're going to be making another rocker. This is actually pipe rocker, for those of you who haven't tuned in yet. This is going to be a 1-inch by 10-inch pipe rocker, and this is going to be the larger style. I already have my strip cutter dialed into 1 inch here, and so the first step we do is we just pull the leather through. I'm trying something new today. I'm actually going to be creating a version of this that is a new color. And the color I'm going with is actually going to be, I'm calling it Trapper, but it is going to be basically a antiqued, traditional flavor of coloring, if you will. So right now, the first thing we're going to start with is cutting off these ends and then beveling. So this is actually going to be less labor intensive than a lot of the other ones. There's not going to be any stain in this one, but the color is really going to pop. You'll see here in a few minutes. Almost through there. This is a thicker piece of leather, so it's taking a little bit more to cut through. But even with that, you can see we got a nice smoothed out end. And now we measure to the other end. So it might look like I'm doing things out of order, slightly. But the nice part about that is you can easily just measure and then cut. So we are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So just a touch long, which means that from here, cut straight through. Now we got that cut. Set that in place. And move it just in just a hair from that back edge. Sometimes this thing likes to come loose. Gotta roll it up a little bit. Careful, you don't be dropping the tools like me. And so what that gives us is a nice bent over pipe rocker. Now, doesn't look like a whole lot right now. Once we get some bevels in here and a few extra odds and ends, this thing is really gonna look great. All right. So something that I've noticed that a lot of people do, some don't, is that when you're working with a pipe rocker specifically, you're looking to create a piece that that has grip on this inner layer. So this has pretty solid grip right now. I didn't want to mess with this too much. And you know, a lot of people are like, well, that's unfinished. Well, actually it serves a huge purpose. As you can see, I'm beveling the edges here. But the purpose is that once you get a pipe in there, it's going to want to slide around if that's beveled or finished really in any way. So what I'm going to do is basically leave this untouched, other than tokenolong the edges of this. That's going to leave that color in there. I can put Tokonol on the back just to darken it a little bit, but other than that, well, I'm not going to touch it very much. If you'll notice, there is a tiny little coloring error right there. That's from, I'm not sure what that's from. Just came with a piece of leather the way it was. And that won't, the funny thing is that that's actually almost exactly where our rivet's going to go a little bit later. So that we're not even going to see that. Now, The nice thing is I already got a couple things pretty dialed in. It's going to be a touch of, so we're going to do antiquing, and then we're going to do a touch of mahogany. Actually, I'm going to do the antiquing first. What antiquing does is it just darkens the piece. It colors in the cracks and crevices. And if you're doing antiquing or any other form of leatherworking here, you want to make sure that you have some form of gloves. If you can't tell, yesterday I'm a little bit darker red on the two fingertips because I decided not to wear gloves when attempting to make a video and do some staining. And that did not help me very much. Now, give me just a moment to grab my paper towels here. Now, everybody says different stuff about what you're supposed to use. I found out that the best that works for me is literally getting a paper towel, dipping it in, and running it over the piece. And you don't need much. That's it. And look at that. Instantly darkens it. Instantly gets it to that place where it is way more substantially dark than most other spots. And it'll make the whole piece really give that aged, weathered look to it. Now, I know it looks like a goopy mess, and quite frankly, it is a bit of a goopy mess right now. That is okay. That's going to come right out in just a second here once I switch this over. Okay, so that's it. That's the process right there. That looks, pretty nasty, pretty terrible. And if you've never seen leatherwork before, you're like, you just ruined it. Honestly, it felt like that the first few times. It felt like I just took a whole piece of what I was working on and I made it look awful. Now, the best part is that once you get it to that lacquered finish, now it doesn't have any extra layering, doesn't have any extra edges, nothing crazy. It just gives it some cool patterning, and honestly, right now it's dry, so there's no extra stuff needed. You just really give it a good rubbing down, making sure that it's well placed and there's nothing left on the edges. That's one thing you want to make sure of. You don't get any extra on these edges, because you're going to be using Tokonole a little bit later. And that you'll see that. But the Tokonole is going to make it a little bit darker. Now we did get a little bit on the back, and I'm still working through some of the kinks on that, so bear with me in that process. Now in the end, this is going to look much, much darker, which is going to be nice. Now I won't say like overly dark, but it's definitely going to pick up quite a bit of character from what I've been doing. All right, we're doing a absolutely minuscule splash of mahogany. Okay. Do that on the workbench there. And let's see, a small inkling of green. What I'm doing is I'm just adding a touch of color, and we're going to see what happens. Now this is going to be a relatively new color for me, and as you can see, I'm already kind of mixing that over there. And what we've done with this is we filled in the cracks. So that's the base surface that you're going to see underneath. It's going to give it a very interesting hue. And this almost has an orange sunset color to it. And it's a bit darker than some of the other patterns I've done. The last one that I did of this was, it was on the same playing field. This is actually turning out to be similar to the timber color I've already made. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm just gonna roll with it. So I guess this is gonna be timber rocker, not the original trapper like I was intending. I'm gonna have to get a different set of dye for that, and that's okay. Just want to give it a couple of coats. We really want to get big stuff in there. I don't know if you can pick it up on camera, but there are a couple granules in there, and so the easiest way to take care of that is just come over with a clean rag and simply wipe it off. And look at that. Now, the best part about that is that that's going to have a really nice shine to it when it's done. And those colors, they pull directly in, and it left that deep base coloring to it. And this is going to make a great rocker. Now, the next part is stain. So again, just a couple of paper towels. You know, most people are like, well, you got to let it cure or dry. And the reality is you don't. It's dry. There's nothing sticking on my gloves. There's nothing extra. I'm not, worried about the edges here. Those are going to darken up anyways. And then the back is just going to have a little bit of character to it overall. And I'm going to actually apply a little bit of Resolene to the back, and that's going to kind of bring it all together. So I'm just pulling that down, pulling it out. Look at that. Shines right up. Really leaves a glossy finish, and it's shiny. Now the nice part about this is this often looks like textured wood, and it has almost a grain-like quality to it. It has a grain in it because it's leather, so it's cool that it already kind of comes that way naturally. But what I want to do is now get some more, and now that it's almost dry enough, we're going to flip it over, and we're going to give the back a nice little tamping. So, if you notice, I'm just pushing this into the leather. I am not trying to wipe it. If you wipe it, you lose all grip. And that is it. See how it darkened up just enough? I don't know if that's fully visible, but hey, it's got a couple of those weathering patterns. It looks kind of, we could call this trapper if we really wanted to. But it's got that nice antiqued wood quality to it. And then on top of that, it looks like it's a rough, worn strap. And that's kind of what we were going for. We've already done the beveling. And now for honestly one of the most satisfying parts of this entire project is going to be the Tokonole portion. So we have Tokonole made in Japan. It soaks it in and then binds the leather together. And once you burnish it, then it friction seals all of that. So literally a piece of canvas is going to be your best friend with this. Everybody has a different way of doing this. My personal, easiest, favorite way to do this. Oh, the reason we did Resolene on the back is because it keeps the stain from the Resolene from coming into, or keeps the Tokonole from coming into the Resolene or into the back and producing more stains. So I'm just covering a small portion of an edge here and starting to burnish. Now this isn't going to be a perfect piece, but I didn't really want it to be a perfect piece, if I'm going to be honest, because a lot of things are too polished these days. They require that it has to be exact. This, on the other hand, requires that it's functional. And if it looks pretty good while it's being functional, I'm happy. You know, and see that? It's got that nice burnished sheen to it. And really what I get to do here is have the fun of watching this turn from raw leather into a finished product. And this literally takes the entire amount of time that we're talking. There's no extra time here, there's no off-camera time. It's one piece, solid all the way through, and you don't have to think about it. There's no extra layering to this. And look at that shine. I don't know if you can make that out, but that really, really sealed that up well. The cool thing about pipe rockers is it's not something that you're going to have a lot of everyday use on. So it's not going to have the same wear and tear if you're going to, as like a backpack or something, you know, something that has a lot of going from one place to another. This is designed kind of to sit on a desk, sit on a rocking chair, sit next to a stove in a cabin, those types of things. Really, really to get that sense of rest, peace, and overall just sitting and thinking. You know, a lot of people have forgotten how to do that, and the cool thing about smoking a pipe, now this isn't a pipe channel exclusively, this is a leather channel. And I know I talk a lot about pipes, this is kind of my starting line of products, but it's really about functionality. It's really about slowing down. It's, you know, could I find this in 1850? Yeah, I could, very easily. You probably would have. I mean, you know, enough of these old trappers. If you've ever read any of the stories of the old trappers, the miners, you know, the traders, the voyagers from Minnesota, kind of from where I'm from, originally at least, you hear all these stories about the ingenuity and taking pride in these handcrafted products. And you see a lot of times they're simple. They're ingenious, but they're simple. And that's the cool thing about this. This is simple. And most people, you know, are like, well, that's too simplistic. I need all the bells and whistles. For what? Do you use all the bells and whistles? I almost guarantee you that if you were to use every single one of the features on your car, maybe. But honestly, a lot of that's automated now. You don't even realize you're using the features. You know, I want something that I know that I'm working on what I'm working on, or I'm using what I'm using. That's the cool part about this, is that it gets to be functional. Functional makes me happy. Now we're really getting there with this side, those edges. Only a little bit there. It's not bad. This is really gonna turn out well. There we go, getting down into that second end there. And it's funny because the ends are cut across the grain, they shine up better, they close up better, they have almost a watery quality to them. Yeah. And if you could feel that, it's literally, it's smooth. There's no edges, there's no friction. The inside has an edge, but that's to retain the leather there. But that edge right there, that is 100% smooth. There's no pull on it. Now from here to here, we still have a little bit more to do. But this is gonna look like a really nice piece by the time we're done. And you can hear it, it almost squeaks when it's done. Just a touch more right in the middle there. Use that excess we got on the front edge. And that is a well-burnished, well-oiled machine we got going on. There we go. It's gonna look great. It is smooth on the back because of the because of all that, but if needed, I can actually take this file here and I can rough it up if I need to get it to grip a little bit better. It'll still have some of the protective finish, but it'll leave the edges and it'll leave the top. Now you'll notice this is not perfect by any means. A little bit of the stain got up top here, but that's not a big deal. If you look at the other side, that is 100% clean. So the cool part is we can put this on the bottom and you'd never know. The inside has a little bit of stain, varnish. Honestly, I like that kind of stuff. It gives it character. It means it was hand-built, it was handmade. And that makes it a truly unique piece as well. And, you know, I'm not gonna fuss over it too much. A lot of these right now in this stage of my production they're for me. So they're for me or they're for my friends, and so they don't worry too much. They did encourage me to start doing this and really start showcasing my work, but I am gonna rough it in that inside edge a little bit, and I'm not doing too much, just enough to give some grip. There we go. And you know what's funny about this? Nail file. And that's it. And now I can feel that texture coming right out. So that'll look real nice when we're done. Okay, on to the next part. So the next part is simple. Hole punch. Now that is set for a grommet, and I need a smaller punch than that. So I'm going with the size 2 here. I just call it size 2. I don't actually know the full geometry on it, but right about there, that's pretty centered. And then you line it up. And you got to go pretty hard. Now, you'll notice that is, oh, look at that character trying to sneak in. A little bit of antiquing gel on there. But you'll see that this hole looks great, this hole does not. So that's because we came in through the back side. Now see, it looks fine on that side, so what we do, we just reverse the punch here. and right over the hole. Make it rounded, and there we go. And I can take my gloves off now. We've got has a really solid rocker there. It's got a real smooth edge. Inside is just rough enough. It's going to hold those pipes well. And look at that end. It's perfect. All right. Grab the essentials. I really enjoy antique brass. It has a rustic feel, and you can buy these little rustic brass rivets. Very small little things. And they just slide right through that hole, right through the other side. And I made that hole slightly bigger on purpose so that they would slide right through. And you throw it on your little stand or press stand there. All right. Put the cap on, and that will hold itself. I can completely let go of it. We were about 4 seconds away from a fully completed video here. And not too shabby, look at that. So, there it is. Pipe rocker is fully put together. You can see it. It's got that nice sheen to it. Really sticks out. And now for the real test. Will it hold the pipe? That's why I always keep these on hand. And the answer is yes. Look at that. Snugs right in there. This is a Peterson billiard, or bulldog, excuse me, bent bulldog. And it goes right in, sticks right in there, holds in place, doesn't move around too much. And it's not going to go anywhere. You'd have to actually flip it over to get it to flip over. And I also, for good measure, have another favorite, and that is the church warden. Now, the church warden is obviously a long stem, and what you want is, because there's so much weight out here at this end, that it causes the pipe to flip back up and out. Now, if it cradles it properly, it just sits right there, and the weight is forward, and that's what you want. Generally speaking, I go with a lower height on these for the church warden. Lower and longer allows me to keep that pretty well set, and it's not going to slide around or slide out. All right, that, my friends, is the end of the video. Thank you so much for coming in and joining me, and as always, adventure through dependability.